Welcome back, my friends, to another amazing episode of the Fit Life Orange County. And before I tee up today's guest, I want to give you a friendly reminder to give us a like, give us a subscribe on YouTube, and write us an amazing review on iTunes. That way we can keep producing this content for you for free to really positively affect the health and wellness of our area here in Orange County. Now, to tee up today's guest, who's a new friend of mine who represents the Joint Chiropractic, which is a national chiropractic agency and franchise doing incredible things, helping the health and wellness of our citizens, not only in Orange County, but ultimately across the country. He's also the manager of the chiropractic training program based in Florida, but ultimately overseeing the 14 locations here local in South Orange County. And today's episode, you're going to learn the number one way to alleviate back pain. So get ready and welcome to my friend, Dr. Jason Alviene. Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the Fit Life Orange County, a show dedicated to busy men and women focused on taking back control of their fitness and their lives with the help from ideas and programs from local experts here in Orange County. Here are your hosts, Bryce Henson and Jake Stewart.
Dr. Jason, welcome to the Fit Life Orange County podcast. Super excited to have you today.
Well, thank you, Bryce. Thank you for having not just me on here, but the Joint Chiropractic in general for this fun event. I just love doing these podcasts.
Well, I do too, and I love this specifically. It means a lot to me because I'm also a client of the Joint and have seen some really strong benefits in terms of my lower back pain and my functionality. So excited to dive in, showcase you to our audience, and really showcase from a personal perspective how much value it's been. But my first question for you, Dr. Jason, is really how did you get involved in chiropractics and healthcare, and really what is the origin story of the Joint?
Well, the origin story for me starts back in the 90s. So for those of you that weren't born before the turn of the century, this was a path I started on a while ago. And it's really interesting. My path wasn't specific chiropractic at the beginning. The year was 1998, month of July, and I met a gentleman by the name of Chuck Paul. We met for about an hour. We had this conversation. He was about 47 at the time, and he explained to me, hey, when I was with him, he said, you just seem like you have that healing personality, but you should be doing it with your hands, and he suggested massage therapy school. So 1998, a couple weeks go by, and I'm thinking, massage therapy school sounds like something I want to learn more about. We don't really have Google. We don't have internet to look things up. So I tried to contact this gentleman again and found out that he had actually passed away. Within those 2 weeks, he had a stroke at 47, and that was it. I was on my own to figure out how to go to massage therapy school. Lucky enough, there was a school that was only about 4 miles from where I was living, and went to go visit. It was $4,000 for a 9-month program. They didn't have financial aid. It was you had to pay out of pocket if you wanted to go. At that time, I didn't have $4,000, so I went to a bank and applied for a personal loan, no credit, was hoping that if I get this, it's a sign I'm going to go to massage therapy school. Well, the bank did give me a loan for $5,000, paid my $4,000 for school, used the other $1,000 to buy a table, and 9 months later, I was out as a massage therapist. That led me to my first position working in a chiropractic office. That was really, outside of being a patient prior, my first inside look into how to work with patients from that standpoint. So I was starting hands-on back in the 90s, even before I became a chiropractor. Now, through my work there, I started teaching at the massage therapy school as well as working at the chiropractic office, and I kind of married the two because the teaching was at night, but I was able to work at the chiropractic office during the day. Through that process, I was like, all right, I need to move on to something else. Otherwise, I'll be doing massage for the rest of my life, which can be taxing on the body. I needed to get adjustments and massages as well. So I decided chiropractic school was the way to go. Ventured off to St. Louis, Missouri, and went to Logan University, and soon after graduated and decided on Florida to be my home to move to and start practice. Now, Florida has an interesting way of getting licensed back when I did. It's a little easier now, but they ran an exam that was only run twice a year. And when I got to Florida, I had to wait about 3 months before I could take my exam. And then it's another 2 months to find out if you passed. So 5 months, I'm a doctor, but I can't practice. So I went back to my roots and I actually started teaching at Kaiser University in their massage therapy program. So I got a full-time job with them running their massage therapy program while I was still waiting to be licensed. So I ended up staying and teaching and then opening up a practice shortly after I got licensed, and I did both positions for a while. I was teaching in the morning and I was seeing patients in the afternoon, and that's really how I got into doing both education and chiropractic all together. Now, the story of the joint actually started in 1999. I went to massage school in 98, joint started in 99 in Tucson, Arizona, and it was like, it's been around as long as I have, so that's in this field anyway. Well, the joint had a slow beginning with its growth, and it wasn't meant to really grow nationwide. At the beginning, it was for the communities in Arizona. But in 2010, it got refounded with 12 clinics. So we're looking at 12 years ago, there was 12 clinics, to where it is today. We're just shy of 800 clinics, and we're in 39 states. So massive growth over the past 10 years, 12 years, and it's all due to the model of the chiropractic and the brand being very consistent from office to office.
Yeah, absolutely love that. And I'm an avid, client, but I've been to many joints. And again, the service is top notch, was incredible. So I'm going to inquire a little bit more about, the insights in terms of the joint, your area, your area of expertise and whatnot. But before I do, this is a local Orange County, California health and fitness show. We have 14 joints in Orange County, which is incredible. But you specifically oversee, you're based in Florida. So can you kind of give a little bit more insight to your specific role before we jump into a little bit more about the joint in general?
Sure. So I'm a part of what's known as the Clinic Support System, or CSC, which is located in Scottsdale, Arizona. And my particular position is I'm the manager of chiropractic training. So I oversee all the training that happens for chiropractors that come into this type of profession that want to work with the joint. This way, the brand can stay consistent from clinic to clinic. So the training that you're going to get at the 14 clinics in Orange County is going to be very similar to the training that they're going to get at a clinic in Florida.
Copy. Well, that makes a lot of sense. All right. Well, now diving in, especially for our audience who maybe hasn't heard of the joint specifically. I'm sure, of course, you've heard of chiropractics, but really, can you provide your area of expertise at the joint? What products and services do you offer? And really, how are you differentiating yourself from other chiropractic clinics across the country?
Okay, so the joint chiropractic, its overall concept is convenience, wellness, and quality of life. So our mission is improve quality of life through routine and affordable chiropractic care. The way that happens in order to improve quality of life is the person has to come in for those routine adjustments and keep the body moving the way it needs to move. And we also want to make it affordable. So how we did that was we removed barriers. We do not take insurance. We're a cash-only business. We make sure that there's a membership base, so this way you have so many visits you can come in per month. And we only focus on the adjustment. Now, as other therapies may be needed, we would either co-treat or refer somebody out to somebody that might need more treatment than just the adjustment, but we focused on that adjustment. We focus on the wellness portion of it. So when somebody walks into one of our clinics, it's very convenient for them to walk into because it's housed usually within a lot that's going to have, say, a supermarket. This way you're frequenting that supermarket because you're buying your food and other things in there. So the joint does no appointment. You just walk in, you get your adjustment, you walk out. Because of no appointment, it makes it easy and more efficient for the patient to get in and out of there. The aspect of being open evenings and weekends, just the overall convenience aspect versus a traditional chiropractic office, which might only be open 3 or 4 days a week, usually by appointment. And if you miss your appointment, then you miss your your treatment for that week. So we've made those barriers disappear, and it makes it a lot easier for somebody to get into the joint chiropractic, even as a new patient.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. And giving our audience some visibility, interestingly enough, I was first referred to the joint by one of our franchise business coaches in Dallas, Texas. And he was coming into Orange County. We had a Fit Body Bootcamp event. And he said, Bryce, he kind of gave me a download. He had some, lower back pain, etc. And at lunch, he actually popped out to the local joint, just adjacent to Orange County, and then came back after lunch. And he said, I feel so much better. And he really described it as the Fit Body Bootcamp of chiropractics. And our model is very quick, convenient, 30-minute sessions in and out. We do book sessions prior, but ultimately reduces that friction, provides a lot more client service from a scheduling perspective. So we're very much aligned, and that's the reason I got hooked in terms of his explanation of what the joint was. And ultimately, I led myself to your office, and it's been really, really positive since. So now that in mind, I'm curious, my next question for you, I should say, what type of, injuries, ailments, pain do your typical client experience? And for me, the reason I took the leap of faith was because I was suffering some lower back pain. I certainly am very active, and human movement is extremely important to make sure that you're strong from a fitness component, from a nutrition component. But ultimately, when you work out, especially at 30-minute HIIT training sessions like we have at Fit Body, it can take a toll on your body, especially if you're not stretching and becoming flexible and really adjusting and making sure you're properly aligned. So for me, my lower back was actually the pain point. However, as I've been treated probably since the better part of 2020, as it turns out, it was really the source of the issue was my glutes and my hamstrings. And once I started to stretch those out and get more alignment, my lower back pain went away. So that's my particular story, and really why I'm such a huge advocate of your service in general. But from your perspective, Dr. Jason, what is the average person, or why does the average person come in to see you?
Well, that's interesting. Typically, pain is what drives most people into the office for the first time, but it's not so much the pain that brings them in there. It's they've lost the ability to do something. It's that quality of life has disappeared. You were just talking about your low back pain. You probably weren't satisfied with your daily life with working with your clients because your back was getting in the way. You couldn't demonstrate some of the techniques as easy, so it got in the way of your quality of life and what you were doing. So I get those patients that walk in the office, they'll say, I got low back pain, I got neck pain, I got headaches, and we always get the driving force is now you've lost your ability to do something, whether it's play with your kids, whether it's lift weights, whether it's be able to sit at your desk and work, whether it's be able to wear high heels, play golf, ride your bike, whatever it is. Sleeping is a very common loss that happens through this. And when we can do adjustments that find the area that is causing this discomfort, and that discomfort starts to disappear, that quality of life comes back.
Absolutely. No, that makes a ton of sense, and that was the exact same experience that I had, becoming a client and ultimately ongoing. And the beautiful part about the flexibility, the fact that I'm in and out, and just like fitness, just like health, nutrition, it's not what you do one time in a blue moon, it's what you do consistently, and that's where I found the most results myself, and I would imagine for your other clients as well. Now, Dr. Jason, continuing on, to give our audience some insight of, what that first experience looked like, and especially if you go into a new office or a new, treatment of any kind, there's always nerves, and that's just common and factory installed in human nature. So to provide more, insight and potentially overcome any concern, what does that first experience look like when a client shows up to your door?
Well, they first walk in. Most people don't realize that the joint is a walk-in clinic. So they'll call up to make an appointment, and we'll kind of schedule, well, what time do you want to come in? They're like 2 o'clock. Okay, we'll see you around 2. We're able to send out some of the paperwork prior to that if they want to fill out some of those forms before they come in. But say they don't, you come in, we have 2 ways of filling out forms. We typically try to do it digital on a tablet. So you're going to come into the office there, you're going to be able to fill out your paperwork on a tablet, which uploads everything in very seamlessly. The wellness coordinator will take you through the process. But while you're sitting in that waiting room and you're filling out this paperwork, which anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes, you'll probably see numerous patients walk in, scan their key card, walk in the back, get adjusted, walk out, probably 10 or 15 people could do that depending on how many chiropractors are working in that 10 to 15 minutes you're filling out that paperwork. Because again, once you're getting into that routine, so from the front, that's that aspect that they're going to see. Once they finish filling out all the paperwork that needs to be done, they're going to be escorted back to meet the doc for the first time if the doc hasn't already been able to come out and introduce themselves. Now, going through the process of meeting with the doc, it's going to be listening from the doc's standpoint and questioning to ask you what's going on. So it's usually very comfortable, very open. The doctor's going to be looking for the main complaint that brought you in that day. What was your reasoning for walking in, and what have you lost your ability to do in your life that brought you in? Before the exam even starts, the doctor usually asks, what type of questions do you have ailing? What are you nervous about? What can I help you be a little more comfortable before we move forward? So this way you can get those questions answered. There's always those chiropractic questions on what's the cracking sound, or do I always have to come? So there's a constant overall aura around certain questions that they might be nervous about. So this is your chance to ask those questions, or the doctor will ask you to ask those questions. Then you're going to go through the exam process. Exam process is very simple. Most of it's done by hand. Chiropractor is looking at your structure, not just through their eyes, but through feeling where the bones, those vertebrae in your spine are sitting, and how they've shifted in order to be able to put them back into, quote unquote, the right position for you, get them more mobile. So that first visit, you go through the exam process. The doctor's going to go over what they found, so the diagnosis, what the treatment plan will look like for you over the next few weeks to 8 weeks up to that point. So this way you know what treatment needs to be done to get you back to normal. And then they're going to explain the adjustment, and if you are ready, you move right into that first adjustment. After you get through that whole process, it's bring you back up front, go over the wellness coordinator, what the treatment plan looks like, and then the patient decides how they want to move forward. And then from then on, it's just walk in and out anytime they need to come in for an adjustment. And that's any clinic in the country. Once you're a new patient in one, your file follows you no matter where you go. You can just walk into any joint.
Yeah, that's incredible, especially for our Orange County residents who are traveling. That's a great opportunity for them to be taken care of.
What's up, my friend? Coach Bryce here. Now, you might know me as the co-host of this podcast and the owner of Mission Viejo Fit Body. But what many people don't know is that I began my journey as a fitness transformation story. You see, circuit training and nutrition coaching absolutely changed my life after being overweight with a diet of mainly fast food in my late teens. Now, upon my fitness transformation in early 2007, yes, I gained a much better physique as I was overweight and lacked lean muscle. But way more than burning fat and building lean muscle, I increased my confidence, my energy, and my vibrancy to live life. It's for these reasons that many people join our boot camp. In fact, with our Ultimate Transformation Program, we guarantee that you will lose at least 15 pounds in 12 weeks, or your program is free until you do. Now go ahead and visit our website at missionviejofitbody.com. Now thanks, and back to the show.
So appreciate that. Now, a follow-up question on that, and for me, I'm curious, I go once a week, and it's really now maintenance perspective. For the first probably 2 months of attending as a client for the first time, I still had that lower back pain, but typically, or I should say, in remembering, it was about 8 weeks after my first visit that it really kind of completely went away. And now I've just been continuing to go just from a maintenance perspective. So I pop in, usually takes me about 10 minutes from in and out once a week. I usually go just after lunch, so it's kind of a good time. That's my particular experience, but I'm curious from your perspective, how often does the average client see you, and what does that ongoing adjustment or treatment process look like?
The average client should really come once a week. And the reason behind that is when you get a joint that gets fixated and it's not moving correctly, that means that the nutrients in that area are not going to get there like they're supposed to. The nervous system is going to get irritated due to some inflammation due to an improper moving joint. And anywhere from 10 to 20 days, you start developing issues in that area that lead towards degeneration. So if you can get checked once a week and find the areas that are fixated and get them adjusted, you actually prevent the process of degeneration from happening at an early level. And you feel better, you keep functioning better, and you usually don't have to deal with the low back issues, the neck issues, the headaches, the loss of quality of life. And because it's convenient, you're usually at the grocery store at least once a week. You can run in before your groceries and then go to the grocery shopping and head on home.
That's it. The convenience is top notch. And again, that's why I was really described the same way as Fit Body, because that's what we really pride ourselves on, that convenient aspect. And certainly I can, attest firsthand that convenient aspect is definitely there at the joint. So that all said, I have one last question before we shift to the lightning round, Dr. Jason. And I'm sure there's so many memorable stories and I guess success stories, but can you think of a very memorable client transformation, someone who came in, was in some sort of pain, but ultimately came out the other side very, sorted out and really happy at their long-term result?
Yes. So, I actually have a lot of these stories throughout my career. There's one patient in particular that I'm thinking of, that when she came to me in her mid-60s, she was in chronic pain. She goes, I've just been in pain since my 30s. It's always there. She was taking different types of pain medications. And we put together a treatment plan for her and said, let's follow this. Let's do this. I did do some nutritional aspects with her, but she's able to do at home. Say, let's follow this. We're going to do a 3-month plan, 90 days. Let's see where you are at the end. Well, it turns out that when we got to the end, she said she was feeling tremendously better. Body was functioning better. She was doing things that she hasn't done for years. And the kicker is I didn't tell her to do this, but she stopped taking her medications for pain. It was just, to me, that was one of those mind-blowing type of experiences, because we're not there to get you off of drugs. We're there to get you a better quality of life. If you're on medications from your MD, we're not telling you to get off of those. But this patient chose to do it on her own, and she said it was a lifesaver, because now she's not having some of these digestive issues. She knew she wasn't taking these pain medications, which had other side effects with it, and she was not in pain. So between the chiropractic and the home instructions that she was doing, 3 months, and she was doing a lot better after almost 30 years of living that way.
Yeah, that is incredible. So inspiring. And, just to validate that point, I was interviewing Dr. Asher from a local, skin clinic, if you will, and he's a doctor of osteopathic medicine. And he was just talking, the average American, especially as they get 50s, 60s, 70s, are like a dozen pills or medication. And certainly a lot of that is just due to lack of really quality health, sleep, nutrition, human movement. So the work that we're doing in this particular space is really moving mountains. And I get so fired up and passionate about that, because the fact is the vast majority of Americans are over-medicated, and that's not a good thing. We really need to come back to the holistic way of living, good movement, good nutrition, good exercise, good alignment. And when that happens, just everyone is better off for it. So I appreciate you sharing that.
Oh, yeah, it's definite. It's just, that's that one story that sticks with me.
That's huge. All right, Dr. Jason, you've been so gracious with your time. We still have a few minutes left, and I want to go through the lightning round just to extract some last pieces of value from you. More of a general question, just from your, chiropractic, perspective and human perspective. But what's your biggest passion these days, and why?
My biggest passion right now is the position I'm in. The patient care that I was able to provide, and I was able to adjust people and see those improvements, is wonderful. But now that I know I'm training actual doctors, and what I've learned is now being spread throughout the entire U.S., there's patients that I'm reaching out there that I will never meet, but they're getting quality care from those chiropractors that are also using techniques that I was able to help them with. And not just adjusting techniques, but just overall communication techniques and how to spread chiropractic to those patients. And that is my biggest passion. So getting on here and just having this conversation with you, knowing that somebody might be listening to this and then end up in a joint, or even if they end up at another chiropractic office because they don't have a joint near them and they're getting care, that to me, knowing that that's going to happen, is my passion. I don't need to hear about it, but I know that it's out there happening and I'm a part of it.
Love it, love it, love it. Next up, what's a unique value bomb that most people should know about the chiropractic industry in general, or specifically about the joint, but for whatever reason they don't know by the time they first walk into your doors?
So doctors of chiropractic, we go through an extensive training and diagnosis. We should actually be one of the first physicians you go see when you have an issue, unless it's obviously an emergency issue where you know you need an emergency room. If you're having low back discomfort, if you're having neck issues, if you're having shoulder problems, go see a chiropractor first. If a chiropractor does his exam correctly and notices, you know what, this is out of our scope, you will get referred to the right physician. If they see that it's in their scope of practice and we can work with you and help you, then you go through a series of adjustments and you get better without having to worry about getting cut through surgery, without getting on new medications. So you end up not having a lot of side effects. Chiropractic is really, the only issue you might get is the same issue you might get from the first time working out. You might be a little sore your first time you get adjusted. But it's really a place to start. It's very inexpensive. For the joint, your first visit's $29. And if you spend that $29 and then it turns out you are not in the right spot, you know that that chiropractor will refer you to the right office to make sure you get the right care.
Oh, that's incredible value. And really to acknowledge that point, this is a few years ago, but one of my head coaches, Coach Jake, who's an incredible guy, incredible fire breathing coach, suffered really strong low back pain. And he actually saw a few medical professionals, even a surgeon, that recommended surgery. As it turns out, he actually went to a chiropractic instead, really did a lot of PT and really created so much more alignment in his body, and actually turns out did not need surgery. So that's incredible advice that I really want to make sure that our audience really takes to heart. My next question was actually going to be, say that someone is interested in taking that next step and checking you out. What's really the, introductory offer, or what's the best way? And I believe you mentioned the first visit is $29. Is that fair to say? And I guess if so, what does that include?
Yeah, so the first visit, $29. It's going to include your exam to make sure that you're the right place, and it's going to include your first treatment. So you're going to get your first adjustment all within that. You'll also get a tailored treatment plan for you on what steps you need to do to move forward to get that quality of life you're looking for back. So that first appointment, and like I said, once you're in the system, you can go to any joint.
Beautiful. That's the value of the franchise system. Love it.
Yes.
Last couple questions here as we wind down. Where can our audience find you online, whether it be a website or social media, so they can learn more and really take action?
Yeah, it's very, very easy. I mean, you just go to thejoint.com. You're going to have a location search. You put in your zip code, and it'll pull up the ones that are closest to you. You'll see a list of joints that you can go visit. So, like I said, within Orange County, there's 14 of them. You go and type your zip code in there. I'm sure there's one right around the corner that you can go visit. And then you type in the joint within Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, any of those social media sites, and you can follow ones that are in your area, and you can get a lot of valuable content coming from those sites as well.
Beautiful. I go to the one El Toro, and then Mission Viejo fluctuates, and I also work at our headquarters in Chino Hills. So I rotate to a few different locations, but it's been an incredible benefit. So that all said, Dr. Jason, this is my last question for you. You've been so kind today, so I really appreciate you. But this question is for an audience member who's listening. Maybe they're in back pain or joint pain or pain of any kind. They've been looking into chiropractics, but for whatever reason, they're nervous, they're scared, they haven't been able to take that next step. What is your parting piece of wisdom for that person?
Check out a joint. Main reason, like I said, it's $29, so that it's not an overall big budget killer. And if you are nervous, let the doctor know. Don't be afraid to ask that question, what you're nervous about. The doctor's been asked that question 1,000 times, and they're going to be able to answer it. And after you get that answer, you should be comfortable to move forward with what's going on in there. And at the same time, the joints are open bay adjusting. So you can be there and sit down and watch another patient get adjusted as you're going through and really kind of get the idea on what's happening there. I wouldn't recommend going to YouTube and just typing in chiropractic adjusting because there's a lot of different ways of doing it. So my suggestion is meet with the doctor that will be doing your adjustment, and they'll be the ones that'll give you the best answer for what they'll do for you.
Beautiful. Well, on that note, I think that's an incredible way to finish off our episode. Before we wrap today, Dr. Jason, I just want to first and foremost acknowledge you. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for your passion towards really inspiring fitness, changing lives, which is our mission here at the Fit Life Orange County. And it's way more than a tagline. It's something that we take seriously. And the work that you're doing, the work that joints are doing, are allowing people to move better, to feel better, and ultimately live a higher quality of life. So I want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad we can be a part of what you're doing as well. So this is wonderful.
Definitely win-win. Well, my friends, I know you got a ton of value. Assuming you did, give us a like and subscribe on YouTube. Write us an amazing review on iTunes and drop your biggest comment, or I should say your biggest takeaway in the comments. That way we can dialogue with you and ultimately serve you at a higher level. So that's all for today. Thanks again, Dr. Jason, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you.